Good day, Fundies. Welcome to another segment of FundaChat. Today we're chatting to Sarah Allan. She's an attorney at Austin Allan, and we're chatting today about how they have integrated technology into their practice to make their lives easier. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Sarah, tell us a little bit about yourself. I've introduced you, obviously, but what do you do at Austin Allan, and what do you guys as a practice do in terms of claimants?
So, Austin Allan focuses mostly on road accident fund claims. I'm a director there along with Gary Austin. We previously did focus on CP claims, medical malpractice, birth injury claims, and more recently in the last few years ventured into road accident fund work again. We're based on the East Rand, but we assist clients countrywide, making use of technology to do that because it's a lot cheaper and easier to be accessible to anyone around the country than it was a good few years ago.
Perfect. So, in terms of the technology, you guys have delved a little bit into AI and so on. How have you found that helping you in your practice?
At the moment, I would say there's still a lot of experimentation. So it's not always a clear-cut saving of time because there's a bit of time taken to try and figure out what works and what's not going to work. What I've found beneficial is not just from a legal drafting point of view, which I think is what people jump to when they think AI, something for drafting, and then they think, I'm going to get in trouble with court because it's going to create some fake case. But if you can use it to do some of the admin and to do some of the business administration and the business analytics, that can free up a lot of the time comparing things that you would have usually had to compare manually that you can now get AI to do for you. Also, what I like to do is when I get expert reports, I like to run it through AI and just say, please pick up any he, she, ID number errors, name errors, someone's referred to a he in this report, but it's actually a she, or someone's got a date inconsistent, the date of accident in this report is different to that report, whatever the case may be, to really do that first draft so that I can then do a deeper and thoughtful read of the report. And it's also very useful sometimes, again, not with drafting, but for having a constructive conversation with it, basically, about this is where I think a weakness is. What's your idea
100%.
about this? Use case law. What has usually happened in this? To the point where it can scour, obviously, whatever unreported judgments are on the internet. And using the correct prompts, you can say, well, in a default judgment court in Johannesburg with the judges available, these are the judges. What do you think is going to happen in this case with these facts? And it can help you strategize. So with regards to the drafting, I am very careful with that because I've picked up mistakes before. I wouldn't sign something that's been drafted by AI that I haven't gone through with a fine-tooth comb as if I drafted it myself.
100%.
But for a first look at a junior employee, look at a document or at a report, it's valuable.
So basically, for those that don't really understand how AI works, AI is like hiring an extremely clever university student that's just finished like 100 degrees but no work experience.
Yeah.
So when they join your practice, it's like hiring this fledgling student or qualified student, and then you have to first feed it, who is the practice? What is it that you do? Where are you situated? So you have to tell it specifically to the nth degree. Like you said, you guys are on the East Rand. So you have to tell it, hey, listen, East Rand means it's this portion in Gauteng, and we work out of these courts because it needs to understand where to get the information and focus Otherwise, you'll be getting judgments from the US or like
Yeah.
places like that which aren't relevant.
Context and prompting, and I think I see a lot of like prompting courses and context for AI courses going on. So I think that's a skill to learn, but if you explain it step by step and give it guardrails, don't hallucinate cases. If you're going to quote a case, I need a link to that case
100%.
so that I can make sure that case exists and that what you have understood by that case is what I understand by that case,
Yes.
because it could make a different assumption. So really giving it a good context window and guardrails, just like you would with a junior employee. If you're going to delve into agentic work, it's someone that can work 24 hours.
100%, yes. So, and yeah, for that, basically, we're talking about scheduling, analyzing things on a regular basis, and that's basically the automation part of it that you're talking about. So, in terms of like future, are you excited to where it's headed?
I'm very excited because I think it's really in its infancy, and I think people maybe had this first idea of it's going to be terrible, then the second idea of it's going to solve everything, and I think we're in a bit of a consolidation phase where we see these are the limitations it has in specific fields as well, and then if you're willing to put enough effort and time into learning how it works and learning what it can do, and thinking out of the box in terms of what it can do for your business, where can it optimize processes that aren't the obvious,
Yes.
then it's very useful. And I see a huge and exciting scope for it to be developed in South Africa.
No, definitely. I also believe so. I think it can be a great tool, like you said, especially in analyzing information, where, for example, Statistics SA, as an example, there are certain stats that they don't do anymore. And specifically, if you look at the post that we did on Live Tables with Maud Letzler and Greg Whittaker, he mentions that the last time they were updated was 1984, 1986, and it's because Stats SA aren't really focused on that as much anymore. And I think it gets difficult for them. They need people to go and knock on doors and, figure out where the demographics of the country is. But technology can assist in that aspect as well.
Absolutely, because most people, even as you head out into the rural areas, maybe less so, but most people have some sort of digital footprint. You get the social media apps that run on, have light versions, so they run off less data, and people are on those, and people are on AI, and clients who you wouldn't assume would think of using that might send you a message, and you think, I know this is an AI question. And what's nice about that is that then you learn, what is it that I'm not communicating to the client clearly? So it's almost helping the client form that sort of question and thought, and you're then able to adjust your message to your general client base, how to get that information across. And with everyone being tracked and everyone having a digital footprint, that kind of stats are available.
Definitely. Just in closing, how have you found while we're on the subject of clients, how have you found it dealing with clients lately in terms of, is it easier to connect with your claimants, especially if they, like you say, are in rural areas and things? Does it seem like it's more possible to communicate and track and trace them, I suppose, because that can be difficult?
Absolutely. I think what's made a big difference is the improved data, like network coverage. So more areas have access to mobile data. and that smartphones are becoming cheaper and cheaper. So there are still people who have really access to really, really basic phones and technology and can't receive a WhatsApp and can't sign a document online. But I'm finding more and more that people are very willing to use digital signing apps, for example, and they have the data and they have a touchscreen phone. And it makes things a lot quicker and a lot less disruptive in their lives. They don't have to go to an internet cafe and print something or wait for a courier to deliver something to them. It really speeds up the process and I think makes it just easier and more efficient.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah, so much for joining us today, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on AI and technology in the legal space, basically.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. And I hope that the tech and AI space in South Africa just continues to bloom.
Us too, definitely. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please, as normal, like, share, subscribe, comment. We'd love to hear your comments about this conversation. And thank you for joining us.